I think you have to stand for something. You can't be for everyone, but you're gonna be the brand for people who really resonate with you. I think going back to what I said, you just really need to be authentic. You have to have a point of view.
Jenny, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm super excited to talk about all you're building with Freja New York. Before we get into all the nitty-gritty, give me a little 30-second rundown of who you are and what you are building today.
Hi, Alex. Thanks so much for having me. My name is Jenny. I was born in China, grew up in the US, went to Cornell for college, and then I graduated without a job twice, not for lack of trying, but for my last interview that I ever did, I couldn't find a bag that made me feel really confident walking in, so obviously didn't get the job, and I started to design Freja instead.
Very cool. What is Freja? Who is your consumer base? For someone who's never heard of you, how would you describe the brand?
Freja, I would describe us as, so we're a New York-based handbag brand for women. We make functional and very thoughtful pieces to support women in their everyday endeavors. So we started with my interpretation of the perfect work bag, and now we have expanded to shoulder bags, travel.
As you were mentioning, we're applying for jobs in a very different industry. You're potentially going to be a consultant. So where does the design inspiration and design background come from?
I don't have a design background. The thing I kept telling myself was, no one was born a designer. Maybe after I give it a couple years, I can be a designer too. And I think that's why we lean so heavily on the functional aspect, because I'm not an aesthetic designer. So I was like, I can make a bag work the way I want it to, and then kind of build design around that.
What were some of those functions that you definitely wanted to make sure that Freja could check off for women in their day-to-day life?
Yeah, I wanted it to be, really lightweight. I wanted the straps to fit over big coats. I know that's like a big thing. Laptops, pockets. I feel like a lot of bags don't really have that many pockets, and now I can't use a different bag. So I'm I need my pockets, I need the key leash, and I just want it to feel structured but yet soft for every day.
Yeah, that's super exciting to have this vision that you had in your head and be able to bring it to life. But I'm sure that there were so many steps along the way to ensure that that could happen. So walk me through the early days of Freja when you had this idea, you left that interview and you did not feel confident coming in. Having that vision in your mind, what were the first couple steps that you took to then start actually building a physical product?
Yeah, first step was I need a bag. I actually didn't think that far in advance. I don't really think more than what I need to do next.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I need a bag. How do I do that? I need materials first. And so I did research for materials. So we started there.
Okay.
I wanted to use vegan leather because I'm not personally vegan, but I thought, I don't have this background. I don't know how to source. I don't know how to do anything. Let me find a material that I can feel confident in, knowing exactly what went into it. And it's custom made for us, so I know exactly what goes into it and how it's made. And I feel very comfortable and confident knowing those things.
You mentioned that you're not an aesthetic designer, but obviously the bags are, very cute and very fashion forward. How did you fuse your interest in making it a super functional bag with making it also something that women are excited to wear in their everyday life walking around the streets of New York?
Thank you. Honestly, I'm surprised that I feel really grateful that people also like our designs. I think we always start with functionality, and I'm a very minimal person. I wear the same thing every single day. I have my uniform. So I wanted to kind of add that ethos into our brand as well. So I think everything you'll see, we don't really do seasonal colors. We don't really do anything too funky. It's all pretty minimal and sleek, and I want it to be classic and timeless.
What's your everyday uniform that you're wearing?
Just the easy top. I love trousers and a sling bag and a Freja bag. I think it just looks so chic. And then some earrings and jewelry.
Is there a fashion trend, especially as you're building this company and building this brand in the New York fashion landscape? Is there a fashion trend that you're really leaning into, or are there some trends that you stay away from, or how do you kind of see the constantly evolving trend landscape as you're building the company?
Yeah, I honestly, I don't look at trends because I think they come and go, right? Everything old is new again. I would rather just make something that people can wear all the time, 24/7, 365 days a year. Because that's what I do. I don't really lean into trends, and I'm not on TikTok. I think that helps. So I think, just classic every day. And I think as I get older, even more so. There was a time where I dabbled in color for a couple months, but now I'm just so true to what feels right to me.
How do you go about keeping your true to self ethos for a company that you're building? Because obviously as a human, we can, be ourselves in a lot of different ways, but as you're building a brand, that's for so many different humans then that, you want to connect with it and you want to be able to, like you said, feel confident. buying your things and using your things. So how do you kind of combine your true to self and the center of yourself with this company that you want to be able to kind of be that for other women as well?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. Like for starters, I started Freja for me. I didn't start it to become like a really big brand. I was like, there's a product that I think needs to exist in the world, and I'm going to make it. And if there are other women who believe the same thing, I'll resonate with them, and they're going to be our community, and I'm going to talk to them in a way that feels really authentic to me, and that's what attracted them in the first place. And then also, I think I've built the brand in a very transparent way.
Yeah.
Like, Freja actually started as a blog before we had a single bag. So I had a year when I didn't have any product, so I just started documenting everything I would do, like, oh, this is how much our first sample cost, this is what it looked like, this is what we're working on now, and then that kind of turned into our about page. So I think transparency and authenticity has always been a part of the brand DNA, and even until today.
Yeah.
Like, I share how much your bags cost to make, and then people love that.
Yeah. In terms of building that community, I feel like community involvement and community engagement is such a core like importance to so many startups today and so many brands that want to break through the noise, and especially saturated industries like fashion. How do you go about building that community now? Who really are they, and how are you attempting to connect with them on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I think going back to what I said, you just really need to be authentic. You have to have a point of view. I think you have to stand for something. You can't be for everyone, but you're going to be the brand for people who really resonate with you. And for Freja, what that looks like, I want to do a lot more community events. We just threw our first open to the public event, I think 2 weeks ago, and it was so amazing, like seeing everyone walk in the door. Everyone was wearing their Freja bags. I got to talk to everyone. And we recently launched a Freja Fund as well, which is an 8-week boot camp for, women who want to start their own businesses. So I think Freja, like, I love bags, but what I love more is like using Freja as a jumping off point, as a vehicle to do other things. Like, eventually, I think Freja, I want it to stand for like empowerment. Like, hey, if I could do something, if I could follow a dream, so can you.
Yeah, definitely. Can you tell me a little bit more about that Freja Fund? I'd love to know who you're kind of targeting with that, and what the obviously mission behind it is, but also like how you're bringing those things to life. What are the activations and those sorts of things? Yeah,
so this one, it's been on my mind for a while. It's always been something I wanted to do, because I think, my life has changed beyond since starting Freja in like the best way possible. And I think there's so many women out there who have their own ideas, and they might just lack a little bit of funding or a little bit of experience, or honestly just, I think what I needed at the time was like someone to tell me you're not crazy, and if an idea feels meaningful to you, you should go for it. So I think that's kind of the angle that we are aiming for. Like, I'm not an expert in anything. I'm not gonna give advice, but I think like just to be a source for women to lean on. So we officially launched the program in August, so we made it live, and we actually just finalized our candidates yesterday. So we'll be reaching out to everyone, and then we're going to curate a 8-week boot camp based on like what they need, and it's going to be like one-on-one sessions with me, with the amazing women in my network, with my team, and with each other.
Throughout your journey, is there like a lesson that you hope to bring into these meetings that you're having with these up and coming female founders, or just women interested in business? Like, is there something that you feel like a lot of them will really resonate with that you wish you had known before starting?
I think something, at least in the beginning, I think something you really, really need to hear a lot is don't overthink it. I think a lot of women, they're thinking so many steps ahead when they don't have a product. I'm like, it's okay. Like, don't worry about that now. Have the product first.
Right.
And then, because future you is going to know what to do. Like, you today is not going to see past like, step 2, but you don't need to do that. So I think just taking the pressure off and just doing it one step at a time.
And just like you want to be kind of a resource for, others kind of in your shoes that you were a couple of years ago, is there someone in your life that you feel like without them, you would not be where you are today?
Yeah, I have a mentor figure. I met him, I actually interviewed with him for a job. He didn't give me the job, but he was like, what ideas do you have? And I told him my idea about Freja, and he's like, you should do it. And I don't know, I think I would have done Freja. I don't know when I would have, but he really pushed me to start. So I started halfway through grad school, and I just went full time with that after.
And knowing that your potential career path was going to be something along the consulting route, jumping into the entrepreneurship space can feel so much less certain, and just like there's so much more up in the air for, you know, the day-to-day, but also like what 5 years down the road can look like. What was your mindset when you decided to kind of make that pivot and go the non-traditional or just like uncertain route?
Yeah, a couple things. Well, I thought I was supposed to be a consultant or finance, because that's just like what everyone did. It never felt really true to me. Like I was prepping for these interviews, you know, like when you're kind of just rehearsing and you're just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel true. I heard a quote somewhere and it's really stuck with me. He said, if I went down the consulting path or the path that I was supposed to go down, the chance of me achieving what I want in life is 0. But if I did my own thing, the chance of that is not 0. So it's actually less risky to do your own thing. And that really, really stuck with me. And that's like something I go back to and think about a lot.
I love that. What is it that you want to achieve? Like, what was that kind of beacon that you were going after?
I think I've always wanted to start my own business. Like I've dabbled since I was in high school. I started making money online in high school, all throughout college as well, which is also why I wasn't like in a rush to get a job. But yeah, I really value like being creative, having freedom. And then I think business is a way for you to see like what you want to see in the world. And I want to build Freja in a, like as a business that I would want to see and support.
What were some of those ventures that you were embarking in high school and college that was earning you some money?
Oh, this is fun. So in high school, I got really into cooking, and I was vegan for a couple years, so I started cooking recipes, and I would share them on Instagram, and I would repost others, and I would share all their recipes too. I grew that to 800,000 followers.
Okay.
Started writing ebooks, so I wrote like recipe ebooks, and I sold those, so that was my high school. So that carried me through college a little bit. Graduated undergrad, didn't find a job. Started drop shipping, made a lot of money doing that. And then that is how I got the seed money for Freja. So it's kind of like one step after the other.
Yeah.
And then neither of those panned out. So especially for Freja, I was like, hey, I wouldn't say businesses. I've made money in the past, but neither was sustainable. If I'm going to do it again, if I'm going to invest all this time and effort into it, I want it to be for the long term. So I've always looked at Freja very long term. Like nothing happened for the first 2 years, but then I think like the last year and a half, things started getting fun. Yeah, but so it just takes time.
Yeah, you've had multiple lives as a founder or a business person then. From those earlier lives, what are some like tips or tricks or things that you want to maybe avoid that you're now taking into building this company the third time around? Yeah,
number one is your customer. Your customer is number one. Like they are your everything. You treat them with, you know, they're smart. Like your customers are smart. Give them all the information, and then they can make an informed decision. But like treat them with so much respect because they are your everything. I think with like I was so young, right? With Instagram, I was like, oh, let me just sell some ebooks, and I would post ads all the time, and like that really ruined the connection with the community. So I think that's why I prioritize community so much now because they're everything. You mentioned earlier that you just had your first like in-person event for community building. You're also on social media, even though you personally are not on TikTok. The brand itself is on Instagram, it's on TikTok. How are you going about kind of walking the line of the digital world, but also the like in-person world when it comes to promoting the company and finding new experiences to connect with your customers? Yeah, I think our digital strategy, because most people will find us through Instagram or through friends or an influencer. I think that strategy is a bit different from the in-person. So digital, I want to be like, I don't know, like inspirational, like cool design, sleek. I think that's how people find us. And then once they're in, they get my newsletters every week. They're kind of like buying into the Freja brand. They get invited to these events. They can meet me. Like I have my email on the website. Like anyone can reach me. I'll reply. So I think you're drawn in social media, and then we can translate that into something deeper offline. Do you have a social media strategy that you feel like has really worked in terms of whether that's like getting influencers to come on board or just customers to find you online? Social media, we do a lot of UGC, so we repost a lot of our customers. We have like a Friday favorites where we just post all of our customers. We should reshare everything. I think for me, like I don't want our social media to be super polished. I don't want to be like everyone else. Also, it's hard to do like polished content all the time. I just want to share. I want to like be in my kitchen and film a video and then post it. And that's kind of what we do. And I think it resonates with people. Like we share a lot of behind the scenes. Like I'll be sharing behind the scenes of this experience. I think that's our not strategy.
Yeah. Has there been a moment throughout this journey that you feel like you have like your I made it moment? I know that some celebrities have been seen wearing Freja. You know, you've kind of grown in that space, but has there been one moment that you're like, I really have come so far and I'm really doing this on my own?
Every time I see someone wearing a Freja bag on the street in New York, I used to run up to them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't do that as much now, but I'll like snap a picture of you from behind or like sneakily. And I have a folder called Freja Sightings on my phone.
How many have you seen?
I think like over 100 at this point. Yeah.
And does it mean more to you to see like random people on the street, to see these celebrities wearing it?
Random people.
Okay.
No, not random people, just like women that, you know, we didn't gift or, you know, that because they bought into the story. Like something about Freja resonated with them. They chose to spend their money on us. Like there's so many bag brands, but somehow like they were like, I want to support you. So like that means everything to me.
What do you think is the future of the fashion and art and style space in general? Like I said at the beginning, and kind of like you mentioned there, like there are so many brands out there. How do you see the future shaping up? What are you kind of preparing for as you hopefully make your way into that future?
I think having a really, really unique brand and point of view, like I don't think brands need to get really big. Like my goal is not to be really big. And I think like in the past would be like mega brands, right? The Abercrombies and the Hollisters, and everyone knew them. But I think you don't need to grow to be that big to be successful. Like I measure success in, hey, we have a community that really, really, really loves our products, and that's fine. We can just keep serving them. And I feel like I just want everything to be very, very organic. It's never like a salesy, pushy tactic. It's always like let's pull you in, let's draw you in based on what we're doing, and we'll just find the people that are meant to be. And I just want it to be very organic.
Yeah. And if it's not to be the next Abercrombie, what are some goals that you have with Freja?
With Freja, I really want to do more philanthropy, like with the Freja Fund. I want to partner with colleges, and I want to partner with nonprofits. You know, there's nonprofits that donate clothing to women for interviews, or like just, you know, more professional clothing to give them a leg up or some confidence. And I feel like that really calls to me, and I feel like that's something we could do. And it feels really full circle because like Freja, we make bags to support women, and then by supporting us, we're funneling that into supporting other women's dreams. So I feel like that just feels very, very good to me.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of what you're doing is very like impact driven. I mean, even from the core of the company, just being like, we need something that we can wear to work or to an interview, all the way to the Freja Fund and supporting others along the way. What do you want your impact to be, or what do you want your legacy to be with this brand?
I want Freja to represent opportunity. I want it to be like, hey, you can do whatever you want. I did it, and so can you.
Yeah.
I think that's the message.
That's super special. And I think that so many women, female founders or women in general, are always looking for a message like that.
And it like doesn't have to be a big idea. Like I just do bags. It doesn't have to be big or small. I feel like as long as it feels meaningful to you, like that's what matters.
Yeah. Being under 30 years old, being a founder, the young founder space is really difficult. You know, so many people have so much more experience than maybe those our age, but we come at it with such a unique vision in your, you know, experience, and something that you really wanted to bring to the world. And I'm sure that there are many benefits to being under 30 years old as well. So what does that youth and that, you know, under 30 kind of category mean to you?
I think it allows me to connect with, you know, our customer. Our customer is me. Honestly, like I wrote a customer persona. I sent it to all my friends. They're like, Jenny, this is just you.
Yeah.
So like being under 30 and connecting with the under 30 community, like it's a lot easier because I know how to speak to them. I know how to reach them. And I know how they want to be sold to. They don't want to be sold to.
Do you have any predictions of what the fashion and the art and style industry is going to look like within the next couple of months or years?
Okay, not art and style or fashion, but like I can talk about bags.
Yes,
That's my realm. I think bigger bags are in, like micro bags we're done with those. So bigger bags, and then also suede is coming back in a really big way. And I think like burgundies, like deep reds, and we might be doing some of that soon. So
very cool. How much do you take like those projections that you have, or predictions of the future, when you're deciding like what to build? How far out do you look? How far in advance are you kind of like thinking about those things?
Very loosely.
Okay.
And we're always behind.
Okay.
Yep.
How, are you attempting to stay ahead of the curve, or do you follow, you know, what your customers are asking you for? How do you kind of find that fine line there?
Yeah, it's a lot of it is like we don't do many trends, but if there's a trend that I'm like, okay, I think this could be a classic, I would follow that. And we take into account all of our customer requests. Like we have a spreadsheet that documents like how many times everything has been requested, and then like I'll always refer back to that when designing.
Well, that's super exciting, and I cannot wait to see what you do. Thanks so much for sitting down with me today.
Thank you, Alex.